Hey guys, it's Ian Lives. Welcome back to another movie review. Today we're going to be talking about this new movie, which I'll explain in a second, on Hulu called The Stranger, that stars Micah Monroe and Dane DeHaan. I'll just talk about why I quotated new. Back in late 2019, early 2020, this little like streaming service came out. I don't know if it was free or if it cost money, but it was called Quibi. Quibi, I think is what it was called. Basically, it was trying to be like the TikTok of streaming services. They just put short-term form content on there. Sorry, it's late. I can barely talk. Basically, they put on like short films, mini-series. That was like their thing. The Stranger was one that they put out. It was a 10-episode miniseries, and the episodes were very short. Quibi didn't even last 6 months, and they shut down. So this Strangers just was in limbo. You couldn't watch it anywhere, from my knowledge. Out of the blue, for some reason, Hulu decided to take this miniseries and reconstruct it into a movie. It's a different length as the show. I think the show was like 120 minutes. This one's 104 minutes. So they cut some stuff out to just make it feel like a movie and not a series. And they put it on Hulu a couple weeks ago, maybe a week ago. I'm not sure. I know it was recently. Pretty much it's this thriller that, again, stars Micah Monroe of It Follows, Watcher. He's going to be in Longlegs later this year, which I'm stoked for. I'm so excited for that. And then you also had Dane DeHaan, which I've been a fan of him ever since Chronicle. I loved Chronicle when I was a kid. I watched it all the time. He was great in Chronicle. He's great in Spider-Man as the Green Goblin. He's been in other stuff too. But I feel like I haven't seen him in anything for a while. I mean, he was in Oppenheimer most recently, but seeing him and Micah Monroe in a thriller really had me interested. It follows Micah Monroe, and she practically works for Uber, even though in the movie it's called Orbit. It's the same thing. She's an Uber driver, and she goes to this mansion to pick up Dane DeHaan's character. And pretty much right off the bat, this isn't a spoiler, Dane DeHaan is creepy and threatens to kill her, pulls a knife on her, tells her that that's not his mansion. He went there and shot the people that lived there, whatever. It's not really a spoiler. It happens within like the first 2-3 minutes. This like kind of bit reminded me of Freeway. I don't know if you guys have seen that, but with Reese Witherspoon and Kiefer Sutherland. Obviously, she wasn't an Uber driver, but just them like getting threatened while driving reminded me a lot of Freeway. I'm gonna start with the pros. Usually I start with the cons. I'm gonna start with the pros because there's not a lot of them. Unfortunately, I'm really sad to say this, dude. So the first pro is actually the beginning of the movie. The first 15-20 minutes are great. I was more surprised and impressed with the cinematography here. In the beginning of the movie, it kind of stops toward the end, but the cinematography in the beginning, you get great painting shots, really, really, really intense scenes that have no cuts in them. You're just following Micah Monroe as she's walking around, and it's very effective and suspenseful. I love no-cut shots, especially when they're done right. You get really creepy build-up. It feels like it's building up to something really good and impactful. You get good tension, especially when she's in her apartment and you don't know really where the hell he is. It was very creepy. She ends up in this church. And I would say after that scene, the movie dips in quality as it goes along. The acting gets worse. Dane DeHaan's performance gets laughable more and more as the movie goes on. I don't know what happened. I usually love his acting performances, but he was only good for maybe 10 minutes of the movie. I don't know what happened. It just drops. Micah Monroe's acting is consistent the whole time. She shows great emotion in here. So if you're a Micah Monroe fan, watch it. Anyways, so that's pretty much my pros. That's it. Micah Monroe and the first 15-20 minutes and the cinematography. during the first 15 and 20 minutes. Those are my pros. Moving on to my cons, there's too many to even tell you. Because this movie was just such a mess. Like, it just kept going and going and going and going. I'm not sure why out of all the Quibi originals, like, I've never heard of Quibi. I didn't know it was a thing. I feel like they would have tried to resurface more Quibi miniseries. I mean, they got some big actors in here. Quibi had to have had a budget. They had to have had other miniseries with bigger, well-known actors in it. Why did they choose to resurface this one and re-release it? It's kind of weird. I don't know what was going on here. Maybe licensing issues. I'm not sure. The first thing I'll talk about, I guess, when it comes to like the cons, the plot holes. There's just way too many of them. There's so many decisions that don't make sense, that aren't realistic, that you wouldn't do. There's so many choices. Like, there's this point in the movie where Micah Monroe and this guy that she finds at the gas station, they team up because he's really into technology. And they find out that Dane DeHaan is tapped into all the cameras around LA. Somehow. Don't know how the hell he's tapped in. He's also tapped into their phones and everything. So you would think that what they end up doing is they go up to this hotel that is like very old school. They don't have Wi-Fi or anything. But he brings a damn burner phone. Why would you bring a burner phone if he's tapped into everything? That made me kind of angry. They tried to throw in this twist with Micah Monroe's character where they add this stupid backstory that is just very, very, very sloppily written. Doesn't add anything to the story. There's this whole scene that is just very strange and doesn't fit. They could have cut the whole scene. It's where it's Micah Monroe and the guy from the gas station and they get pulled over. And there's some police brutality type message that they're telling out of nowhere. Like, what does police brutality have to do with this thriller? No idea. And then she ends up handcuffing a cop to a motorcycle. Why? Don't know. Like, that whole scene doesn't make sense. And was also, again, poorly written. There's got to be other shit, too, that I'm just not thinking of. Yeah, it's just a bunch of... It just kept going on and on and on. You kept thinking it was going to end, and then it didn't end. It just kept going on and on and on. To the point where Dane DeHaan frames Micah Monroe, and she gets detained, right? So I'm thinking, okay, it's about to end. It just sets up the last 30 minutes. There's still 30 minutes of the shithole. And she's detained in this police station, right? And I don't want to say anything else because I feel like I'm saying the whole movie. I really do. I apologize. There's a scene that involves a trap with another character. And they trigger the trap and it kills the character, right? In the police station. They try to explain this and it doesn't make sense at all. So I'm still going to say this. How in the hell did Dane DeHaan sneak his way through a police station and set up a trap that would kill somebody? It doesn't make sense. And they try to explain it by showing footage of him smiling with a police uniform on. You tell me they don't know what the hell he looks like? They looked at all the cameras. They believe Micah Monroe. I mean, it doesn't... And then there's... To backtrack a little more before in the film. Another thing that didn't make sense, real quick. This happens a lot in movies, but it's very prominent here, where there's just nobody besides the two main characters. They're in an apartment. There's nobody saying, why the hell is this girl screaming? There's nobody coming outside their rooms or anything. There's a whole scene in the subway. They're the only people on the damn train. There's nobody in the subway station. It's like, oh my god. It doesn't make sense. It's unrealistic. Anyways, there's this whole scene where it's Micah Monroe and the guy. They're on the subway. And Dane DeHaan does something. They have to get off the train. And there's coyotes or wolves walking down the damn train tracks. Or subway track, whatever the hell it is. What? This is Los Angeles. This is Los Angeles. Are there just coyotes walking around? I don't get it, man. They're not even outside. They're underground. And then they return, of course, in the ending. One of the worst endings I've ever seen. It's so corny and cheesy and stupid. And Dane DeHaan gets in a car accident that somehow breaks his leg. He's crawling on the ground. And he's trying to grab his phone. And he somehow starts recording. Even though he didn't touch his phone. It just somehow goes to the camera app and starts recording. And it records him. Coyotes come. Terrible CGI on the coyotes or wolves, whatever the hell. Terrible CGI on them. Why in the hell are there coyotes in the daytime just walking around? They don't explain this. They don't do anything. This movie like really disappointed me. The cast is really good. I like a good thriller. And it was very promising. I mean, the first 20 minutes are so damn good. They're almost on Watcher level to compare it to another Michael Monroe movie, because that one had a lot of good suspense and had great cinematography. Like, this movie starts off so strong, and then it just, boom, it just nosedives. There's no rising. There's no good moments after the beginning. It just nosedives. Like, I don't know what the hell happened, man. The Stranger gets a skip from me. And I'm giving it a 2.5 out of 5. Which is still probably being generous. I should probably give it a 2 out of 5. Or a 1.5 out of 5. I'm giving it a 2.5 for Dane DeHaan, Michael Monroe. Even though Dane DeHaan didn't do great. He was probably just getting that paycheck. I understand. This was just such a sour movie. It's such a disappointment. It's such a missed opportunity. It's a movie that should have been awesome and was almost terrible. Again, I'm kind of thinking right now, I don't know if there's a way to watch the miniseries, but would it make some of the plot holes make more sense? Would it make some of the movie better? Maybe. Why did Hulu resurface this shithole? I don't get it. And, like, it was in top 10 of Hulu for a while. Like, top 10 most watched. I would watch it. I watched it too, guys. I saw Michael Monroe and I clicked it. I don't blame you. But, like, what the hell was this, man? I don't get it. I'm just frustrated right now. So, I understand why that... What was it called? Quarry? Whatever the hell that streaming service was called. I understand why it got bankrupt and shut down, because this was just not good. If you guys enjoyed the video, please subscribe to the channel and turn on the bell, all that jazz. Follow my Instagram at IanLives_, and follow my Letterboxd at wehateian. I love you guys, man.